Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel where we make learning English fun and engaging. In today's video, we're going to explore adverbs of frequency and how to use them correctly in your sentences. We'll cover everything from always to never. At the end of the video, I will give tips for using adverbs of frequency so that you can be a pro at using these adverbs. If this is what you want to practice, you know what to do. Click the like and subscribe buttons. Let's dive in. Adverbs of frequency tell us how often something happens. They can be used to describe habits, routines, or general occurrences. Here's a list of common adverbs of frequency, along with their percentages. 100% always, 90% usually, 80% generally, 70% often, 50% sometimes, 30% occasionally, 15% seldom, 5% rarely, 0% never. Now, let's see how we can use these adverbs in sentences. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. We'll start with always, which means something happens 100% of the time. For example, I always brush my teeth before bed. She always arrives on time for work. Next up is usually, which means something happens 90% of the time. For example, he usually takes the bus to school. They usually eat dinner at 7 p.m. Generally means something happens 80% of the time. For example, we generally go for a walk after lunch. She generally prepares tea over coffee. Now, let's look at often, which means something happens 70% of the time. For example, I often read a book before going to sleep. They often visit their grandparents on the weekends. Sometimes means something's happening 50% of the time. For example, he sometimes forget his keys at home. We sometimes watch movies on Friday nights. Occasionally means something happens 30% of the time. For example, she occasionally treats herself to a spa day. They occasionally go out for dinner. Seldom means something happens 15% of the time. For example, I seldom eat fast food. He seldom misses a workout. Rarely means something happens 5% of the time. For example, we rarely see snow in our city. She rarely wears makeup. And finally, never means something doesn't happen at all, or 0% of the time. For example, I never skip breakfast. They never argue in public. Tips for using adverbs of frequency. Now that we've seen examples of each adverb of frequency, Let's go over some tips to help you use them correctly in your sentences. Number 1, adverbs of frequency usually come before the main verb, except for the verb to be. For example, she always studies in the library. Before the main verb studies. They are never late. After the verb to be. Number 2, if there is an auxiliary verb, the adverb of frequency comes between the auxiliary verb and the main verb. For example, he has rarely missed a deadline. Between has and missed. Number 3, when using adverbs of frequency in questions, they come after the subject. For example, how often do you exercise? Does she usually take the train? And that's it. Now you know how to use adverbs of frequency like a pro. Remember to practice using them in your daily conversations to become more comfortable with them. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more English learning content. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye for now.